In this video, we'll learn about the logging in SSIS. It provides multiple log providers that we can use, configure to log detailed events as our package executes. Logging is important because for auditing purposes and more for error handling. Sorry, not the error handling, but debugging and troubleshooting, finding where the error occurred and what was the message. So if we capture all that in a log, we can go on later on and review the log and find the problem and fix it. For auditing, mainly what time the package was executed and who was the operator's login under which the package was executed, what machine, things like that. So we cannot deny the usefulness of the logging, whether in any system, not just in SSIS. But SSIS does provide several log providers that we can configure. So let's see what kind of log providers it has. It has five kinds of log providers. SQL Server, which is a table in your SQL Server connection. Table schema is predefined by the SSIS, and all you have to do is just configure this log, and the data of the events at the time of package execution will be entered into that table that you can go and query like any other table in your database. Text file obviously is a file system log file that you can create a connection in your SSIS project and send all the entries and runtime information into that file. Similarly, the XML file, if you don't like the text file format, you can have the all the log output into an XML file. More if you want to log the events in a Windows event log, it will be logged under the application log. So you can use that. And also the SQL Server profiler trace. You can log the information of your package execution in. So we'll see all of this in action, how it works. You don't have to use all of them in the same project or package. It depends what your needs are. So you can choose whichever one you find appropriate for that project. But in our example in this video, we'll configure all of them simultaneously and all the events will be logged into multiple providers. But I would say that again that you don't have to configure all of them. You can probably have just one. Most of the time in my work life, I use the SQL Server log provider and capture all the events information in a table, which is easier to query for me. So let's go ahead and see all this in action. For this, I'm using an old project from a previous video and which had a package which simply uploads a flat file into a staging table in our database. If you have watched that video, you probably remember this. And I capture the row count that passed through that, and then all this information, including the row count, was logged into a table. So if you go over SQL Server Management Studio, this is the database. Happy Burger, obviously, I always use this. It has a table called hospital under a staging schema, and also a table which is just a row counts that I keep in there whatever files got loaded. So if I run, we see that there is some data in these files. So let's let's just delete all this so we can start fresh. So now both of these tables are blank. We'll be loading the data in there. So see how we going to configure the logs that we just talked about. There are 5 kinds of log providers that we can configure. So in order to activate the logging on a package, you can just right click anywhere on the design surface here, and you will have this option, logging. Another way is just go on the SSIS menu and you can choose the logging from here. And we have chosen the package, which is the name of our package, and all the components in this package, like the data flow task and the other execute SQL task. And here it provides you a list of log providers that you can configure. And then this is the detail of events that you want to capture. So you see that I have checked these 4 or 5 events. I don't want a whole bunch of them because logs are mostly ignored, and we just skim through the information that we really need. So why take up all the storage? So just choose the one that are of interest to us. I like to do pre-execute and error, obviously, and post-execute. So that kind of gives me a um, um, complete set of events that start with the package execution beginning and till the end. Any warning? So so providers and logs. So let's go ahead and click this drop down, and you can see there are 5 types of log provider. So SSIS log provider for SQL Server. Let's click that and click add here. And this log provider will write the data into a table that will automatically get created once we configure this. So click here, and configuration, this is important, which database we want to store this log. So happy burger, and if it is the first time, then this table will get created. If it was second time, meaning I have already configured this for some other package in this database, then it'll simply insert the data from this log into that table which got created earlier sometime. So we did that, and we see that all these events will be captured into this log. So let's add another one, text file. And like I said, we don't have to configure all of them at once. Generally in my work, I configure only this one, the log provider for SQL Server, on each of my package. So let's do this text file, but this is an example, so we want to try everything out. The log entries will be appended into a text file, so we have to configure a connection for that. We don't have any existing connection, so let's create a new one, and it will ask me some information. Create a file. Where do we want that file? We want that file, well, in this, and I want to call it SSIS log dot log, and click OK. Click OK here. So now these events will go to like on error and on post execute, pre execute, all of them will go to this text file that we just created. So now going for the XML file log provider, add that and check this box. And just like the text file, we have to create a new connection for that. Create file. Let's create this here. XML log.xml. So that will, all the information of these event will go into that XML format in this file we just created the connection for. So now we have the Windows event log. Let's add that, and we don't need to configure the connection for that because it will simply go to the application log in the Windows. So, but the events are the same that will go in there. Now we need to create similar to this text and XML file. This will be a SQL trace file that you can view in the SQL Server profiler. So I I don't remember if I ever used it, but I mean it's the same information, so we can try that. So let's create a connection for that. And SSIS log.trc, which is the trace file extension. Click OK. So all these logs will be generated and populated with entries when the package executes. So the events that will be captured are these on error, and all these that you see here on warning, and these 5 logs will be created. Now, another thing I find pretty useful, I want to be consistent on capturing which event I want. Except for very rare cases, I want to be very consistent with my log event. So I don't really want to check these boxes every time because I may forget one of them or click some other one. So for that, I can save this as a XML file and say log events to capture. So this will be stored, and next time I can simply just load that when I'm configuring the logging for a different package. I can simply come here, create the log, and load that file. So once I click load, I can go ahead and choose this file. So that way, all my packages will have the same structure, same kind of events that they will capture. And I want to be consistent that way. So this is all we had to do here. And we have configured all the logs that we wanted to play with and see how it works. So let's click OK. And save the package, and let's go ahead and execute this. Okay, that was pretty quick. Let's stop this. So let's go ahead and check out each of the logs. So the first one is SQL Server log provider, SSIS log provider for SQL Server. Where did we configure this? In the Happy Burger database connection. So let's go there. First, let's see if it loaded the files. Yes, it did. It loaded the file, and using the execute SQL task, it made some entries here, which we had talked about in the other video. And these are the 4,000 some records that came in here. Now, you have to remember this. By default, SSIS creates a table called SSIS log table that gets created, and it stores the information that you chose in your logging configuration screen. So you can see this here. What I like about my configuration, which I always use, is that it's not too long that I kind of lose interest and lose it becomes too big. So the critical information is lost in that jungle of rows of data. So I see that it's the beginning of the package, end of the package, and there is just one warning. Except for that, there is no other problems with this. So we see that it is the computer that the package was executed on. Who executed it? Me. The source is package. You can see the name of the package here that I have is package. That is why I believe in one of my videos I said let's keep the names a little bit meaningful. What it does is when you are looking at the log here, you can easily identify if these names are little meaningful. For example, if I had given this package a name load hospital file, then it will be showing up here and I'll know exactly what happened. So I mean, not exactly what happened, but where it happened, and I can go and guess from the message if there was an error. So that's just a helpful thing in the naming. Now, other log that we had was a SQL Server profiler. So I believe I did configure that in the same package here. So the SQL Server profiler is like a trace file, TRC file. So let's go ahead and open my SQL Server profiler, and it should be SQL Server Tools 2000. So profiler, and I can open that file here and see. So I guess pre-execute warning, I recognize all this, and post-execute and user event, which is the end of the package. So it doesn't really look much different than what we had here. You can see that there are like 5 rows, and the same is here. Now, in both of them, notice this is the execution ID. So, and what time it started, what time it ended, that can give you a clue how well your package is performing. And source GUID meaning the package you have created, it does get a GUID, globally unique identifier, which is what is here. So from the log you can always search for this and see wherever this package has executed. Operator obviously is me logged in. So this is, I mean, this is good. You can see this here too. So let's go to the other logs, text files, and that was also created in this. Yeah, it was the log file extension. So let's open this with Notepad. So I think it is a comma separated records here, and the first row contains the column names. So it looks to me pretty much obviously the same thing because all the logs had the same events captured. Let's go to the next one, which is Windows event log. Let's see. So, event, we were let's open that and see what's going on. Application, application log. Okay, so there we have our 5 rows. Um, that SQL IS package 140. If you go to um, this event, you can see what really. So, like this one is the warning. You see, this is the same message that you have in one of these. So you can save this log separately and then delete it if you want, and copy it or for later use, or whichever way you want to use it. Now we go to the last one, which is the XML log, and this is in the same file, same folder here. Yeah, you can see this is all the same information. It's just in XML format. We can open it with the browser. So we can see this here and use it if we want to input this into another application. So I guess this covers everything about the logging, and just to reiterate the importance of logging is that you can find it very useful when you are troubleshooting or you are auditing for some event and seeing when the package was loaded, when the data was loaded, who did that, that kind of thing. Now remember, we I have also used many times custom logging. So for example, I'm using this execute SQL task using this table where I log some information which you saw here. So these logs are good for troubleshooting and all that, but you may still want to have your custom logging for whatever reason. If you have another application that automatically reconciles the number of rows got loaded, so you can do all that here by doing the custom logging. So, but this is what we have for logging in SSIS, and I hope I covered everything, and you like this video and learned something out of this. So, see you next time. I appreciate your watching this.